4th of May, Rabbi Emor, Parsha Hashavua, with Rashi, Emor.
Hashem, 1 second. Okay. Right, let's go. I thought maybe this week's Emor has a vast this way. The beginning of the Parsha deals almost totally with Kohanim. But later on, we've got the whole section about the Yomim Tovim. It goes through each one of the Yomim Tovim, and that on each Yom Tov, one has to. Sorry. On each Yom Tov, one has to. There's an Issa Melacha. One's not allowed to do work except for, as we're going to see, Meleches Avodah. Okay, the Ramban learns that's referring to you can do Meleches Ochel Nefesh. Rashi has a different interpretation, and there's other things as well. But I thought maybe just for today, because we're in the middle of the Smira, we got the mitzvah of Mitzvah's Omer and the mitzvah of counting the Omer. So let's go over to chapter 23, Pasuk 9. Here we with us, chapter 23, Pasuk 9.
Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, that's 9. I don't see a Rashi on 9.
Okay, continue.
Daber el b'nei Yisrael, v'marta alehem, ki savou el aretz, asher ani nosein lachem, uketzar tem es ketira, vaha ve sem es omer re shis ketir chem el hakohen. So speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you enter the land that I give to you,
I am giving to you, right?
That I am giving to you, and you reap the harvest, you shall bring the Omer of the first of your harvest to the Kohen.
Right.
Rashi says on the phrase Reshis Ketzir Chem, the first of your harvest, Tetehei Rishona the Katzir, that it should be the first of the harvest.
Right.
Okay,
that means
that what is that telling us? It's obvious.
Well, not. And what I mean is as follows: is a farmer, obviously there's an issa we're going to see over here. You're not allowed to eat any of the new crop of the new harvest, right, till you've offered up the Omer offering. But I might think, listen, the farmer has a bit of time, a few days before Pesach. You know what? He'll harvest his barley harvest, right? His barley crop, but he's not going to eat it. He's going to make sure to wait to eat it till after the Omer offering's been offered. But he will harvest it already then, before Pesach. So Torah tells you hereby, no, the actual harvesting should not be done before Pesach either. Before the harvesting of the Omer offering, that should be the first crop to be harvested. No harvesting of the crop before that.
And
By the way, if a farmer does do so, he's not over a negative commandment, because there is no such negative commandment. He's only over a positive commandment that the Omer that is offered as a korban, that should be the first of the harvest. Okay?
Omer, Asiris ha'efa.
Okay, an Omer, right, is a tenth of an ephah.
Kach haya shema. This was its name. Kamo vayamodu.
They measured with an Omer measure. Okay. Now, what Rashi? It's interesting that Rashi brings this pasuk vayamodu va'omer, because there's in that same section there, which in Parsha Shmos, which talks about the mon, there's actually a pasuk, a Parsha pasuk. Va'omer asiris hoifo. Right, the Omer is a tenth of an ephah. Unless what Rashi is trying to prove that it was a volume rather than a weight. I'm not sure. Okay, but anyway, Rashi is telling you that this was a certain measure of rain that was was made the meal, should we say, the mincha, as we're going to see, which was offered as a korban. This was the Omer offering. Okay. Okay, next pasuk. Okay, Meir, pasuk Yud Aleph. You with me?
Yeah, we're on Kaf Aleph, right?
No, we're on chapter 23. We moved over.
Oh, we moved ahead. Okay. Okay, 1 second. 23 Yud Aleph.
Chav Gimel, chapter Chav Gimel, pasuk Yud Aleph.
Okay. Yud Aleph. Okay, got it. It says, V'henif et ha'omer lifnei Hashem li'ertzonchem mimacharat haShabbat yenifenu haKohen. Okay, so he will wave it. He'll wave the Omer before
Right.
Hashem. What, according to his will?
No, L'tzonchem, meaning to act as that should be willingly accepted for you.
Oh, willingly accepted. Okay.
Because Hashem should be pleasing in the eyes of Hashem you're bringing this carbon.
Okay. So on the day after the Shabbat, the Kohen will wave it, it looks like.
Right.
Okay. Rashi. V'heinif. He will wave. Okay. Kol tenufa. Let's see. Molich umevi. Ma'ale umorid. Okay. So let's see. So all the waving.
Every tenufa, every wave offering
A wave
has
off.
to be waved in such a so it has to be waved.
Okay, he moves it back and forth,
And up
he
and down.
and up and down.
So Chazal
Okay.
say it was like this, and similarly to what we do with the lulav. But it's
Oh,
not quite. He said, Molech maybe he goes like this, backwards, forwards, this way, then this
okay,
way, right to left, and then up and down.
right.
So in other words, in 6 directions.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's see. Where I left off. Okay. La'atzur ruchot ra'ot.
So Molech maybe la'atzor ruchot ra'ot.
Oh, okay. So he moves it back and forth to hold back the bad winds.
Right.
Okay. Ma'aleh morid, he lifts and lowers it. La'atzor tilalim ra'im. Oh, to stop the bad dews. Wow.
Right.
Wonder what they are. Oh. Have to go to Menacho to see what they are. Okay.
Okay. So it's interesting
Yeah.
that this is exactly also why we shake the lulav as well. The purpose why we shake, the Gemara says that why we shake the lulav in 6 directions. But the same idea is also to hold back any bad winds, chas v'sholom, which Klal Yisrael may be deserving. So we show that we are, in a way, that the tenufa was a form of, how should I say it, a prayer in action.
Uh-huh.
Meaning it's not just with a prayer with words. It was like a plea to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're fulfilling this mitzvah. We are acknowledging that you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are in charge of everything in all 4 directions and up and down. And you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are in charge of the winds, in charge of the rains. Well, the rains are here, the dews. Okay? So this way, by waving it, we're showing, acknowledging that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge. So this is like a plea, a supplication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should not bring upon us any chas v'shalom bad winds or bad dews.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Lir tzonchem, your will, for you. Im takrivu kamishpat hazeh yeh l'ratzon lachem. So what if you bring offerings as this law, okay, it will be according to the will for you. Or as you said, I guess appeasement.
Right.
Okay, for you. I would think that would be the case in most mitzvot, though.
Right. Why is it tough? Because we find that by korbanos, any kind of avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, korbanos is always the emphasis on it should be l'rotzon.
Okay, very good. So now mimacharat hashabbat
Yeah.
And the
This
day
is,
after the Shabbat. It says, Mimacharat Yom Tova Rishon Shel Pesach. So it says, on the day after the first day of Pesach, She'imat Omer, that if you say Shabbat Breshit.
this means the day after Shabbos, and it means referring to seventh day of the week.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's referring to the seventh day of the week, what we call Shabbos. So then the Torah doesn't tell you which one.
Oh.
You
So
don't know which one.
which one?
Therefore, when the Torah said over there, Mimacharas Shabbos, from context, we know it's referring to Pesach.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, the question is, this is the major thing which the Mefarshim do dwell on. Why is Pesach called Shabbos? Why should Pesach be called Shabbos? Okay, there's a major, number of Mefarshim go into it. By the way, I can't remember who says this, but they infer it from the pasuk, which we actually read on Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. It's the penultimate pasuk of Sefer Yeshaya, which we actually repeat in order to end on a good note. When we lay in the Haftarah Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we repeat the penultimate pasuk and we end off with that. It says, "V'haya midei chodesh b'chodshoi, midei Shabbos b'Shabbatoi, yovoy chol basar lishtachavos lefonecha Hashem." Okay. Just 1 second. Let's get it correct. Yeah. Shtachavos lefonai Omar Hashem. Sorry. Okay. Now it's interesting. What does pasuk the Shabbos mean over there in that pasuk? It says, "V'hayom midei chodesh b'chodshoi," month by month, and it means every month. V'hayom midei chodesh b'chodshoi, every month in its month, midei Shabbos v'Shabbat, and every Shabbos in its Shabbos, all flesh shall come to bow down before me, says Hashem. Obviously, we're referring to the future, actually. Okay? But nevertheless, there's two major questions on that. If Shabbos means what we call a regular Shabbos,
right, then
the order of the pasuk should be the other way around, because normally you mention the more common one first, and then the less common. She said, "Shabbos b'Shabbat." That's called. Number two, where is there an obligation to come to the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos? Okay, there's even Rosh Chodesh is in itself a question. Okay, but there is an inyan of Rosh Chodesh. Okay,
right.
Yeah. So one of the Mefarshim says that Yom Tov is also called Shabbos. So therefore, that's what the pasuk means when it says Midei Shabbos b'Shabbato. It doesn't mean refer to Shabbos; it refers to Yom Tov. Okay, every Yom Tov is called Shabbos, and the idea behind it is because on Yom Tov we desist from doing work. Right, it's a day of rest. Not quite the same as Shabbos, but it's called. We have it in the second before. It's called Shabbos Shabbosoin. where is it? Here. If you go back to Pasuk Gimel, chapter 23, Pasuk of Gimel, Pasuk Gimel. Shabbos, Shabbos, and Mikol Kodesh, Kol Malach Lo Yisasu. But that's talking about Shabbos itself. Well, we'll see. It doesn't actually call Shabbos Yom Tov Shabbos, but elsewhere it does. Okay. Over here not, but Akoponim, so that in that aspect already could be referring to Yom Tov. Any Yom Tov could be called Shabbos. But we only find else in the Torah, only the Torah refers to Pesach as Shabbos, but never refers to Shavuos or Sukkot as Shabbos. Yeah, so the one side of the Pshat, that what is the idea of, let's take Shabbos Bereshis, right? What we call the day of Shabbos. What is the idea behind it? The idea behind Shabbos is that when we stop doing work, we desist from doing work on Shabbos, this is a testimony that Hashem is in charge. Okay, what we call Hashem Pratis. Hashem didn't just create the world and then say, let it go on by itself and run by nature, as they say. Elamai HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is personally supervises everything that goes on in the world. And we testify to that by the fact that we do not do work on Shabbos. Meaning, so therefore, how does the world carry on without us doing work? The answer is, Hashem is in charge. So this way, in a way that us not doing work, our desisting from doing work on Shabbos is a testimony that Hashem has a special supervision, hashgacha, over the world. Okay? We find in another place that is called Shabbos is the year of Shemitah. Okay? The year of Shemitah is called Shabbos. We're going to have in next week's Parsha. Parsha is called, it says, yeah. V'hoisa Shabbos ha'oretz lachem le'ochlo le'chol le'avdecho v'lamosecho schol v'shol v'vim tchol lechem v'shol tiyeh kol tzvah salechol. Pasuk starts off, actually, it says over there. Yeah. Daber b'nei Yisrael matel and kisam elohes Hashem yisrael lechem v'shol Shabbos l'Hashem. The land should rest as a Shabbos for Hashem. And how so? 6 years you work the land. In the 7th year, Shabbos in Yel Oretz. Okay, so it's also called Shabbos. Why is that? Because Eretz Yisrael also has a special supervision by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a special hashgacha on Eretz Yisrael more than any land in the world. As the Pasuk says in Parshas Eikev, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has special, his eyes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's eyes are upon the land, meaning he has special supervision over the land. So when we have we keep Shemitah year, it's a not quite just a commemoration. It's something that will remind us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has special supervision of Eretz Yisrael, and therefore we should realize that the farmer should realize that when he's working the land, it's not his work that is producing the good results. It's Be'etzim Hashem's special hashgacha that does so. So once every 7 years, he totally doesn't do any work in the field. And this way he testifies to the fact that Hashem is in charge. So that's again a Shabbos, which testifies to a special. Pesach, in that respect, is also, because that's when Hashem chose the Jewish people as the chosen people. Right? When he took us out of Egypt, he took us to be his people. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a special supervision over the Jewish people more than any other nation in the world. Shabbat Pesach, therefore, is also called a Shabbos in that respect. That in that respect, when we commemorate that Hashem has a special hashgacha over us, over the Jewish people, more than any other nation in the world. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, you don't act like everybody else. dedicate your food to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, why is it dafka done through food? That's a separate question in itself. Just the idea is that the Pesach is called Shabbos because it commemorates Hashem's special hashgacha, special supervision over the Jewish people. Okay. Yeah. By the way, this is the Rashi refers to a Gemara Menachos. This was a major dispute between the Chachamim, how should we say, what do they call it? The traditional the Chachamim who kept the traditional Mesorah, the proper tradition carried down from Moshe, that they expounded the Torah according to such a way, as in the traditional way, as opposed to the Tzdukim, the Sadducees, who interpreted it in their own way. And they interpreted it literally, Mimachas HaShabbos, and therefore they made tremendous efforts always that Pesach should come out on a Shabbos, and the Sfira, the counting the Sfira should always begin on a Sunday. That's because they held that's what the Torah means. Sfira Sa'ima means Mimachas HaShabbos means the day after Shabbos, literally. And he says the Chacham had a whole major dispute with them. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's go on now. Parsha Yud Beis.
Yud Beis. Let's see. Va'asisem bayom ha'nifchem es ha'omer keves tamim ben shenaso le'olah l'Hashem. On the day that you wave the Omer, you shall perform the service of an unblemished lamb in its first year.
To carry out the service of a lamb, perfect lamb in its first year.
As an Ola offering to Hashem. Okay, so Rashi says, "V'asisem ... keves." You shall perform the service of a lamb. Chova la'omer uva. It comes as an obligation for the Omer.
Meaning, when you bring the Omer offering as a wave offering, which is merely just waving it, you didn't do anything else with it. There was nothing offered on the altar, but along with the waving of the Omer, one had to bring this burnt offering, as the Torah is mentioning over here. You have to bring this lamb as a burnt offering. Okay. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Meir.
Okay, let's see. It says, Uminchato shnei esronim solet belula vashemen ishe lahashem reach nichoach v'nisko yayin revivit hahin. Okay, so it's a meal offering of 2 ephahs, I guess.
2/10 of an ephah.
No, 2/10. Oh, asironin. Okay, 2/10 of an ephah of solet. That's the fine flour. Lavashemen. That's mixed with oil, and it's a
As a
sacrifice to Hashem with a pleasing aroma.
right, which we
Okay.
always,
Oh,
as I'll explain, means that when the korban is offered properly, according to proper halacha, then that Kosh Baruch Hu, it is as if it's a pleasing aroma to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nachas ruach lefonai shenase mitzvasi. Right, that it's like a Kosh Baruch Hu gets pleasure to be that his mitzvahs have been carried out properly.
oh, okay. Just to finish, and it's the Nisko.
It's
Yayin.
Kol Yayin,
It's a
and
ri-
it's lay. Should we say? How do I call it?
it's some offering of
It's
wine.
Kol Yayin, and it's nesach. How do you call it? It's poured offering of wine. Shall be Revi'eh Sahin, a quarter of a hin.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Rashi, minchato.
Okay, by the way, I'm going to see
Yeah.
Rashi says.
Okay, so Rashi says it's a minchat nisachav. So it's a meal offering that's poured.
Yeah, which means what Rashi pointing out is there were two types. I mean, in general, there were two types of meal offerings. There were the types of meal offerings which were offered together with korbanos. Like every oil offering had a mincha offered together with it.
Uh-huh.
There were menachas which were offered independently.
Oh.
Person could offer a meal offering by itself, as mentioned in the beginning in Parshas Vayikra. So Rashi's pointing out over here, mincha soy means it goes together with the burnt offering, right? This animal, this sheep, mentioned before in Pasuk Yud Beis, they go together. So therefore, nafkamina is for whatever reason they couldn't offer the animal, then they didn't have to bring the meal offering either.
Oh, okay. Okay, Shnei Esronim, that's the 2/10 of an ephah, of ephahs.
Right.
Kefula Haita, it was twice as
Double than what it normally was. Now, what Rashi is
Oh.
referring to is as follows. In Parshas Shlach, the Torah mentions that whenever a person would offer a korban, which animal it is, so that determines what kind of meal offering and what kind of poured offering he brings together with. Meaning every bull, a cow or bull, requires 3 esronim of flour, right? Together with half a hin of wine.
Oh.
Okay, every ram, right, which is an animal in its 2nd year, right? Then that requires 2 esronim, 2/10 of an ephah of flour of mincha for the meal offering, and 1/3 of a third of a hin of wine for the poured offering. And a sheep, which is the smallest animal, okay, it has 1 isaron, 1/10 of an ephah of a meal offering, and 1/4 of a hin of wine. Over here, the pasuk says, it says, the next pasuk is going to tell you, so the end of the pasuk says, Nisko yain revi'eh sahin. Okay, its poured offering of wine is 1/4 of a hin, which is, shall we say, standard for a sheep, because that's the kind of offering we mentioned over here, keves tomim ben shnoso la'olah, as mentioned in Pasuk Yud Beis. However, following that rule, the meal offering should have been 1 isaron, 1/10 of an ephah of flour. And yet the Torah prescribes 2 esronim. So that's what Rashi points out. Minchas, kfula haisa, means the Torah prescribes over here that the meal offering offered with this Omer offering, with the Omer, the animal for the Omer offering, the carbon for the Oila offering for to coming together with the Omer, that requires 2 esronim of a mincha and not just 1, as would normally have been the rule. Okay? And that's what Rashi says. V'nisko yain revi yisayim. That's in the next Rashi.
Okay. That's my last Rashi there. Oh, afal pi sheminchato kefula, ein nisachav kefula.